The Prince of all Saiyans. Reduced to making... I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to talk about it, man. Vegeta. That, when I was a kid, man, he was such a badass. Like, I remember when he was ripping people apart in the Namek saga, even Cell saga, even in the Buu saga. He's a motherfucking badass. And when I look at this episode, it's not bad. Just like, oh my god. When you see Vegeta sitting there... I don't even want to describe it. My man Vegeta, my boy Vegeta. He did that shit, man. We better still get Bingo. We better get the Bingo. Yeah, we better get that. I want that Bingo. If we don't get that Bingo, I want to be disappointed. But that right there, a little bit of my childhood died inside when I saw Vegeta do that. Okay, so besides that, this episode, I'm going to tackle something real quick that so many are probably going to ask. Animation, art, so much better than last week's. 1,000 times better. Like, oh god, it's leaps and bounds. You compare last week's episode with this episode, you see a huge difference. So, clearly, I think the animators realized they need to get their shit together. But let's get off of that, okay? I talked about that enough last week. This is a review, this is not a rant. I don't want to get into that. Let's just talk about this episode, which was very good. So, to discuss what I noticed in this episode, I noticed that the animators, Toei Animation, when it comes to Dragon Ball Super, it seems like they're trying to make it to where Beerus seems more evil. Let me explain. In the movie, Beerus, he had this evil side about him, like, not necessarily evil, but, you know, this darker side to him where he was very serious, because he is the god of destruction. But there was a lot of comedy around that movie, and I noticed when it comes to this episode, there was a lot more serious tones to it, especially with how Vegeta looked at Beerus and how Beerus looked at Vegeta. Beerus was going out of his way throughout this entire episode, really just tormenting Vegeta, and just kind of scaring the shit out of him. Like, beginning of the episode, when Vegeta's just walking, he's thinking about the god of destruction, all of a sudden he hears a voice, and all of a sudden he's looking around, you hear this, like, intense situation, like, you see this intense situation, he's looking around, he's like, what was that? Am I hearing things? And then all of a sudden you see Beerus pop up behind and put his finger, and then he's like, bang! And, you know, if Beerus was serious, Vegeta was dead. He would have dropped on the floor and died. And to see that, Beerus was intimidating Vegeta, and he knows Vegeta's scared of him. And then to see how Vegeta was, like, tiptoeing around him, and how Beerus kept smiling and evilly, like, looking at Vegeta, like, you know, just making him scared. I like the atmosphere of this episode. It felt a lot better than the movie, actually. And I will say this right now. I will gladly say it. When it comes to building up the hype for Beerus, especially when it comes to him being very intimidating and for the Prince of all Saiyans to get there and start cooking, and doing that type of shit, and then diving in the water, getting the octopus, all sorts of stuff, it just goes to show you how scary the god of destruction is. But, I mean, I think we all know how scary Beerus is, I mean, after last week's episode, regardless of animation-wise. So, to see Vegeta acting like he was, and then to find out that King Vegeta, at one point in time, met Beerus, and then his face got shoved into the ground by Lord Beerus, and that was... oh man, like, it was incredibly interesting to see the way that was done a little bit differently compared to what I've seen of it beforehand, and it was definitely something that was done right. In terms of comparing movie to Dragon Ball Super, I felt like the way it came to the atmosphere of Beerus and Vegeta, definitely better. Way better. Way, way better. So I will give props to that. When it comes to fleshing out Lord Beerus's scariness, episode did it properly. Now, besides that, majority of the episodes kind of just slow build up, along with Vegeta tiptoeing around the god of destruction, trying to figure out how he can get out of this and how he can save the entire planet, because one wrong move and everybody is fucked. And at the end of the episode, we're getting into that point where everybody is kind of fucked. But it kind of seems like, judging by the ending, actually, since I talked about earlier on in this review, we might not get the bingo scene, because Vegeta is already about to face Lord Beerus, because the title of next week's episode of Dragon Ball Super is like, don't you touch my Bulma, and If you know the movie, that was a very, very good scene. And actually, speaking of that, besides the bingo thing most likely being omitted, Vegeta might... I want to bring up something, actually, before I even say that. Chibi mentioned this last week in the comments, so this ain't my theory. This is not my theory. Chibi mentioned it in the comments, and so I'm just mentioning it to let you all know. The reason why Toei Animation, supposedly from what Chibi said last week, is that maybe they were saving the budget and, you know, certain art directors and stuff to work on next week's episode, since there might be a good possibility Vegeta could go Super Saiyan 3. Let me explain why this does kind of sound plausible if you do think about it. In the Battle of Gods movie, we know when Bulma got slapped by Lord Beerus, Vegeta exceeded the power level of Super Saiyan 3 Goku on his own. No God mode. No Super Saiyan 3 mode. He exceeded the level of Goku in the movie. And there might be a good possibility, since Akira Toriyama did say in an article a while back that he wanted Vegeta to have a little bit more of the spotlight in future Dragon Ball content. I remember him saying something like that. And so, what if, since this is slightly different, like very different from Battle of Gods, like it is kind of different in its own way, what if Vegeta goes Super Saiyan 3 next week? That would be crazy. I wouldn't know how to react if I saw my boy Vegeta just transform into Super Saiyan 3, get long hair, and then punch Lord Beerus in the face. Now, if that does happen, I hope the fight is a little bit longer. I mean, just a little bit. I mean, compared to what we saw in the movie. And that would be really cool. It really would. But that is a theory, and that's not, you know, something you should take without a grain of salt, I'm just gonna say, but I'm just throwing that out there. So yeah, episode of Dragon Ball Super this week. Very good. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Have a wonderful day or night. Wherever you live, please be safe. Chibi out.